Today we're going to continue with our 2024-2025 season previews with the Ottawa Senators today. So there's a little bit of a special add that's to this Senators season preview because they locked up their arena. Their new arena that will probably not come for a few more years still, but they have confirmed the sale with LeBreton Flats, which is where they're going to be building their new arena. So before we get into the actual season preview, I thought it'd be cool to kind of talk a little bit about the Senators arena and, what went behind it and stuff. So obviously we know their current arena is the Canadian Tire Center, which they've been there since 1996. So you're going on, I think, 25 years coming up here. Might be even more than that at this point, actually. I can't do math. They purchased a 10-acre plot for a multi-purpose facility, which is not common at all, which is not uncommon. It's common. A lot of teams will tend to do that. They will tend to bring things in and, add to kind of not just an arena, kind of add other things as well. And it's good. The price for this overall sale, like buying the 10 acres, has not yet been announced. I don't know if we will ever know what the actual price was. Not 100% sure. But the previous deal, they did have a previous deal in 2019 with Eugene Melnyk, but things obviously fell through because we know how Eugene Melnyk used to be. But the deal was also reached right before the deadline, too. So it's good that Michael Andlauer got this locked up. Canadian Tire Center, it wasn't bad, but again, it was in a weird location, not really a ideal location for the Ottawa Senators. So not only is Calgary getting a new arena in replacement of the Saddle Dome, the Senators are getting a new arena in replacement of the Canadian Tire Center. And people were really talking about it. I know I'm going a little bit off topic here, but people keep talking about expansion. Well, now that this deal happened, there's a pretty good chance we're going to see them get a lot more interested in expansion, that being the NHL. So overall, great for the Ottawa Senators to get a brand new arena. Definitely something they wanted to do. Let's actually get into why you guys are here previewing the Ottawa Senators 2024-25 season. So we'll start off with a 3-year progression, kind of where this team was 3 years ago, and then look at current date. So in 21-22, they went 33-42-7 for 73 points. They were 26th in the NHL. Again, they were getting better, but they weren't at that level where they could have been like, a playoff team. They were still in that rebuild. They go out, they get DeBrincat, they sign Claude Giroux, and people thought they would get a lot better, and they did, but they still weren't in the playoffs. They went 39-35-8 for 86 points. They were 21st in the NHL. Again, that offseason following was very ugly. They let go of DeBrincat. They got a few ads for him, but it didn't turn out to be that great of a trade for them. So all in all, when you look in terms of DeBrincat, you probably would have been better off just not trading that first-round pick, not getting DeBrincat. It looked good in the current term, but he never signed an extension with the Red Wings, with the Senators. So obviously that caused a lot of conundrum. In 2023-24, there were many that expected this team to at least be a little bit better, at least make some progress towards the playoffs. Because if they did, I think there would be a lot of fans in the organization and in the league that would be happy. But it did not go that way. They went 37-41-4 for 78 points. They were 26th in the NHL yet again. It was a disaster. DJ Smith just didn't get enough out of his players. They fire him. They bring in Jacques Martin, I believe, and, things didn't work out at first there. They got better towards the end of that, but overall it wasn't ideal whatsoever. There were a lot of issues with goaltending and a lot of other things that definitely affected the roster. So let's not waste any more time and get into that, because they were very active this past offseason, letting go of a lot and acquiring a lot. So they were very active. Let's start out with the departures. They let go of Jacob Chychrun, Joonas Korpisalo, Dominic Kubalik, Matthew Joseph, Eric Brandstrom, and Mark Kastelik. So a few of those guys, that being Korpisalo and Kastelik, were a part of the Linus Ullmark trade. So obviously, those guys were out, and I think that definitely worked out very well for Ottawa. At least right now, we'll see how it is a few years down the road. Chychrun, they wanted to get rid of him for a while. They didn't trade him at the trade deadline. They moved him on free agency day. We'll get into that return in a second. They let Kubalik walk. I think they traded Matthew Joseph. Either that or he walked as well. But overall, those guys were losses. So, there were a few guys in there that you may look at as like, oh, they may have lost the Chychrun trade. But overall, I do think that the departures were kind of the right moves to make, honestly. The guys they brought in, I like most of them. You have David Perron, Michael Amadio, Noah Gregor, Adam Gaudette, Nick Cousins, Nick Jensen, and Linus Ullmark. So starting out with the big one, Linus Ullmark. They acquired him in that deal for Korpisalo, Kastelik, and that first-round pick. I like it. I think that that was one of the issues in Ottawa that they needed to solve was their goaltending, and I think that they responded and answered that pretty well, I would say. So I give props to the Senators for acknowledging that was an issue and going out and fixing it. Now, the only question that I do have now is, well, can they get Ullmark locked up to an extension? I'm confident they will, but then again, I thought the same way with Alex DeBrincat 2 years ago, and that did not end up working. So we'll see what happens there, but that's something that you got to keep in mind. But I think right now, it looks like a great trade for the Senators. A lot of the guys they brought in apart from that are kind of just guys to fit in on the bottom six. Like Perron may get second line time. Probably going to be a third liner, though. You got guys like Amadio, Gregor, Gaudette, and Cousins. Just bottom six players at best. Kind of fill the depth. And I think, honestly, they got a lot better depth-wise. They really did. I feel like they got a lot better deep. And then Jensen, probably going to replace Chychrun's spot on that defender side as a second pairing defenseman, which isn't a bad thing. Jensen, I'm not too high on, but we'll see how he does with the Senators this coming year. When you look at this team's projected lineup, per the Hockey News, not me, by the way, first line, Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, and Claude Giroux. Second line, Ridley Gregg, Josh Norris, and Drake Batherson. So, on paper, that's a really good top six. Ridley Gregg, young rookie, possible for a breakout season this coming year. Or to, I guess, take another step is what we're expecting from Gregg. Norris, if he can stay healthy, that's a good second-line center role. But again, I've seen some Sens fans actually say that they want to move him to the wing side and move Shane Pinto up. So I wouldn't hate that. I don't think Norris is playing, but I think he is 100%. They don't want him to get hurt in training camp because they're being very delicate with him right now just because of previous injuries. And if he gets hurt one more time, that might be it for him. So it might not be like it for him, but it's not a good sign at all. So, yeah, the first line, I don't even really need to say much. It's a great first line. You know what you're getting. Hopefully Stützle will take another step this year or at least bounce back to what we saw 2 years ago. If he can, then I think that's great for the Senators. Tkachuk and Giroux just keep playing how they were playing. I don't think they were the issues last year at all. So, overall, a really good top six. Your bottom six, David Perron, Shane Pinto, Michael Amadio is your third line, Noah Gregor, Zach Ostapchuk, and Zach McEwen as your fourth line. And then for some extra depth, you have Cruikshank, Cousins, and Jan Jenik. So, overall, that bottom six is definitely better. Again, Pinto is your third line center. He's a guy I'm really high on for a breakout year this coming season, so he's an exciting factor. I like the new adds of Perron and Amadio. That's a line we'll see what it's going to do. It's a lot of new guys, and Pinto obviously hopefully playing a full season this year. The fourth line I think is pretty good as well. I like the guys they brought in there. I like Cousins, who could possibly get some fourth line minutes up there. Ostapchuk looks exciting. We'll see what he can do. I think that honestly, you have a line of Gregor, Cousins, and McEwen. That line's going to fight. That line's going to, people are not going to like that line. You go in, you play against Toronto or Montreal, they're not going to like that line at all. So that's a very physical, very versatile fourth line. Your defense is still, on paper, really good. You have Sanderson and Zub as your first pairing. Then you have Shabbat and Jensen as your second pairing. You have Clevin and Bernard Docker as your third pairing. And then you have Travis Hamonic as your seventh defender. So, first pairing, we know what it can do. Sanderson and Zub, that's a great first pairing. We know what both those guys, they both play very well at their own style of play. Shabbat, See how he does this year. Last year was an all right year from him. Jensen, we'll see how he fits in with that top four. There's a lot of people expecting for Tyler Clevin to make the team over Travis Hamonic. So that's why I put him, well, I didn't put him, but that's why he's in the top 6. So I like that. I think that this is a solid defense. Again, that third pairing is young, so they may mess up a little bit sometimes, but I think that's a pretty solid defensive core. And then your goaltending is Linus Ullmark and Anton Forsberg. So hopefully Ullmark behind a defense that is worse than Boston's, but it's still, I think, solid. Hopefully he will be able to play well, and he's obviously a Vezina winner 2 years ago, so you got to keep that in mind as well. But I like this team's lines. I like the defense. I like the goalies. But again, I think I said that last year. And I think I said that the year before as well. So again, I am not expecting playoffs from Ottawa this year. I am of the opinion that they're probably going to come close, if not maybe squeak in. But what you really want is you see them the last couple of years. They were 26th in 21-22, 21st in 22-23, and then they fall back down to 26th in 23-24. You want some progress. You at least want that. If this team finishes like 20th or 19th and they're like, 5 or 6 points out of a playoff spot, then I think that's real progress. And I think a lot of players on this team will see that and say, yeah, we're really close. I think that there's a good chance that we can break in within the next 2 seasons following this year if that does happen. But if this team finishes by a large margin out of the playoffs again, I think you're going to see some real changes. I have no idea what to expect, that being real changes, but I think you would probably see something happen because something's got to give here. You're almost at 10 years. You're a little bit further away than Detroit for 10 years, but you're coming up on something you really shouldn't be coming up on. So hopefully Ottawa can break in this year. But going to the hockey news is yearbook. They have the Senators 7th in the Atlantic. Their cup odds are 60-1. And the X factor is in the past 2 seasons, the Sens have lost footing in the playoff race almost as soon as it had begun. Ottawa started 5-8-1 in 2020. In 22-23 and 6-7-0 in 23-24, with 7 of those 15 losses coming to division rivals. A hot start is key for Green's squad if they're going to earn their first playoff berth since 2017. So again, you talk about, and I said this in the Northern Block podcast, I said this in a lot of videos prior, you need to have a hot start. Because if you don't have a hot start and you're a vast margin out of the playoffs, by December, by Christmas, chances are you're not making it. I'm sorry. Not everyone's a 2019 St. Louis Blues. I said that a lot in the latest MVP episode. I recommend checking that out. It's a shameless plug. But again, if this team starts off slow, it's a disappointing year. But if this team starts out hot, not even like going like 12-2, like if they're like even like 15-8, I would consider that a success. So they just need to have a really good start. They need to come off running. So that's what I see from the Ottawa Senators, and hopefully Travis Green can do that this year. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe down below. I really appreciate it. We got the Flyers tomorrow. We're going to keep producing these. We're going to get a lot out next week, by the way. We're going to keep them going. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.